Do your surf sessions always go as you'd hope for? Or on some days do you have absolute shockers? If you know this feeling, then few things come close to how frustrating it can be. In this vlog, we continue on from where we left off in the last video, discussing the area which impacts so many of us regular surfers, the takeoff. I'm James Davis, and I've been a skydiver for over 20 years, jumping and competing all around the world. In the last 18 months, I've been surfing at the wave pool in Bristol to see if wave pools can do for surfing what wind tunnels did for skydiving. I wanted to see what would happen if an average surfer trained at the wave pool for a year, if they could learn to get barreled, sharing all the mistakes, learning points and experiences along the way. Regarding these amazing surfing performances you have just enjoyed watching, I'm dying to tell you that 1. The surf sessions took place at the end of a long day. 2. I was using borrowed equipment for both of the sessions. 3. That the wave at Alaya Bay is slightly different to where I normally surf. And 4. That I normally don't struggle like this. But as soon as anyone starts to justify themselves to someone else, start making and verbalizing excuses, it just sounds really bad. So to flip it around, on the positive side, seeing the footage and having had those bad waves, I started asking the following questions. Why did I suddenly struggle so much? What was I doing wrong? And how could I learn from those waves? One of the first observations is that there seems to be a dependence on a takeoff technique that I know works on the waves I normally surf. It makes total sense that a person can get used to the wave they surf regularly and the equipment they normally use, especially when the surfer is at a less knowledgeable level. In the last video, I finished off by asking, what do people normally do when they've missed a few waves, and why? From my experience at the wave pool, when most surfers miss a wave, the natural tendency seems to be setting up further back. It seems we all think that it will be an easier takeoff, as we will avoid being rushed, have more time to catch the wave, and not go over the falls. Despite being a logical theory, it rarely works. Let me share some thoughts and see if you agree or disagree with them. In the last vlog, the key learning point was that a surfer can't paddle fast enough to catch a 2-foot wave. They need help from gravity and a wave face steep enough to catch it. How does this influence the surfer moving their takeoff positioning further back? Firstly, let's have a look at these videos of some pro surfers and see how long they take to catch a wave. At Alaya Bay in Switzerland, there are markers on the wall, so we can easily see. Now let's compare that to what a normal surfer is doing. The pro surfers are getting to their feet within 1.0 units, whereas most regular surfers take much longer than this. Perhaps you disagree, but it seems the surfer only has the time between where the wave face is steep enough to be caught and where it breaks. The problem seems to be that if you take longer than this window, you'll struggle. If you reposition your starting point too far back, you move back to a point where the wave face isn't steep enough to be caught and so never catch the wave. Another observation that might just be in my head is that when you're a bit further back, the wave seems to pull you backwards, moving you up the wave face which isn't steep enough to be caught. It's then super difficult to drag yourself back into the wave, and you also end up higher up the wave face to run the risk of falling off the back of the wave. So the solution that worked for me was moving forward positioning wise. It isn't the obvious move, but when you think about it, it is consistent with putting yourself where the minimum wave face angle is. You think that you'll have a harder time, but because gravity is helping more, it turns out to be easier. Making the change wasn't easy to start with because all your triggers, timing and process gets messed with, but ultimately it did help. Okay, so for me, flame away, but moving back isn't the answer. Just need to make sure you can do the pop-up within the window the wave offers. Again, This seems so obvious, but I didn't fully appreciate it before. Now back to these wonderful bad waves that make me cringe so much when I watch them. So if you need a good pop-up process, what things do you have to do well? I asked some pro surfers what they thought I was doing wrong and how I could improve. What do you think they suggested? In the next video, I'll share the answers from the pro surfers, what they had to say about the points I just highlighted, along with some examples of what they have been doing. It'll be interesting to see what you think about the input and if it's useful for you. How did I get on trying the changes? You'll have to tune in to the next video to find out.